Hi, this is Dr. Mark Sehl with the 69th talk on the YouTube channel Therapy for the Heart. It's nice to be here today. I was going to begin by talking about going back to child abuse because we've been talking about that for a few times in the podcast and on the videos. And we had wonderful Dr. Mars talking about his case of mother-child incest. And the boy was 22 years old, continued until he was 22. So what we see in the headlines lately is the 13 children who were held hostage by their parents, and ranges from all ages, held hostage all their lives. They never saw the light of day. What is that all about? And can there be any love for these parents, for the children? I mean, it's going to be very interesting to find out more about what happened with this family and the children and the parents. Can parents be so absent of concern for their children, love, that they would keep them hostage for such a long period of time? Never see the light of day. Shackles. Some of them were in shackles. One family member said she visited them many years ago, and she said she saw no sign. But you know what happens with people who are abusing children? As the child gets older, they're afraid of being exposed, so they'll have tighter reins on them. They won't let them out. The fear of being exposed. One neighbor she looked across the house and saw them marching in line, like in the wee hours of the morning. I wonder why she never said anything, or maybe she did, or he didn't, I don't know. But anyway, marching in line. Marching in line. Kids should not have to be marching in line anywhere. So what does this say about us, though? What if someone walks into the room and says they happen to be a parent of these children, they want treatment? We could have a lot of countertransference feelings, certainly, about somebody who is within the room, but does that mean that we don't treat them? No, they might not be treatable, but we have to look inside ourselves, I think. But what are the dynamics in this? If we could project, imagine, first of all, we have control. The child must obey. They can't rebel. It's possession. It's narcissism. And the needs of the parents are being primarily met. No needs of the children are being met, particularly about independence. They cannot be independent, and that's probably the main threat to the parents, because a sign of independence just means they're not going to be objects to their parents anymore, to be used. If they're independent, they're going to be free thinkers. That's like the cults, the cults that exist. They don't want people to be independent. The minute they try to get free of the cult, they'll rein them in. And more terrible things they'll do. So this is like a cult, and I feel for the children. I also fear for the parents, because what could they be thinking? Except control and fear of loss of that kind of connection where you possess. But what's in us? We have to look, if we're going to be treatment people, we're going to look inside ourselves and see what can we identify, that the need to possess, the need to control, the wish to torture. Oh, you don't have any of those feelings? Well, maybe you don't, but I think my opinion is we all have the potential to have all sorts of feelings. Our feelings are not bad. If you want to torture somebody, it's not a bad thought. If you want to torture a child, there's nothing bad about our thoughts and feelings. Nothing. It's what we do with them. What's bad is how they might make us feel if we have terrible thoughts, terrible guilt. But as long as we don't do something, and as long as those feelings don't govern our life, that's what's important. Harold Searles was a wonderful writer, and he wrote about his feelings about a lot of things, but he exposed his feelings for the sake of people like me who were younger and wanting to learn more about therapy, and I always wanted to know about the therapist's role and the outcome of treatment. That's my long-standing desire, and communicate to you in these videos, and bring the videos and psychotherapy kind of down to earth and authentic. But that is what I focused on, and what he said about therapists is that, for instance, males, they tend to act out their incestual feelings. They tend to act out with their sexual feelings towards their daughters, and particularly if they have to block them out of their consciousness. That's when they have to block them out. So that's why I'm saying over and over again, know yourself, be aware of all the things in yourself, and that'll make you a whole person. If you don't, you'll have split off, disassociated parts of you that are very important to know, particularly in this field. You know, we're working with people who bring us many, many difficult challenges. They're going to bring up a lot of countertransference feelings, and if we're aware of them and trust them and be conscious of them, we'll be less inclined to act them out. We don't want to do that, act out with our clients. We might want to, but we have to restrain ourselves from doing it. For instance, I just had a supervision group, and I'll mention the supervision group to number 2 that just started recently. But somebody had the courage, a very new person coming into the field, you know, pretty new compared to a lot of other people. She was open enough to say how she was overextending the sessions, and she realized, with the help of herself, a very open person, and also the group, to realize that she was overextending the sessions, going over because she was not feeling competent. And one way to try to make yourself feel more competent is to extend the sessions. It doesn't work because you're not relating to your own anxiety about competency. She's very competent, she just didn't feel like it. So we all have those feelings. Raise your hand who hasn't had those feelings of incompetency. Experienced therapists have them. I've worked with experienced therapists who never tell their therapists who they're in therapy with that they're disappointed. People have fears. We all have fears. Disappointed in their therapists. Their therapists who had many years' experience couldn't elicit that from them, which is one of the jobs of the therapist. It's like management. If you run a company, management 101, you try to elicit the genuine feelings of your employees about how you're doing as a job, as a manager, as an employer. You'll have less acting out, less people looking at the computers and monitors and looking and playing games, because they don't have any way to express their dissatisfactions. Like that corporation that I interviewed, they wanted me to come in and talk to their employees about the terrible feelings that they had to watch the World Trade Center fall down in front of their eyes, but they didn't want to attend the meeting. And I said, well, I'm not going to the meeting unless you come, because they're angry at you for not providing them this opportunity. So that's what it's all about. It's helping people elicit their feelings, all of them as much as humanly possible. And that's why in my trainings, the task is to say everything that's on your mind, because whatever you can't say in your mind, you're not going to be able to help your patients say. It's a fact. You just can't do it. You won't be able to do it. And a group is wonderful because you have more of a challenge in the group. It's much safer and easier to talk to your therapist about your feelings, because you already developed, hopefully, a level of trust that he's not going to throw you out of the office or humiliate you, or you're not going to feel, oh, I'm ashamed because as a therapist, I shouldn't be having these feelings. But in a group, it's much more challenging. But therefore, since it's much more challenging, you have more to win. Because you have other people there, and your own ideals about what you should be as a therapist. You'll be comforted by the fact that once you say something, other people are not going to run out of the room and say, "Oh, bad therapist." They're not going to do that. So, I remember my group number 1, it's closed now, but somebody was talking, a therapist didn't come for 2 weeks, and then I reined her in. I said, how come? What's happening? And she said, well, I had these sexual feelings toward a male patient, and I felt embarrassed. She came into the group, and she began to talk about them. And what happened? Other people said, gee, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had the same reluctance about talking about such feelings here. And now that I've done it, and now that you've done it, you've really helped me a lot, because it's helped me see that it's only human and natural. But it's hard for us to be human and natural with ourselves because we've been brought up with so much criticism and ridicule. So that's a theme that runs through my concern about how children are brought up and how we as therapists and as parents can learn to be with our children and be with our adult patients so that they can get the most out of their life and be the happiest that they can ever be. Because they will know that they have a place, you as a parent, they can have a place to go and tell you what is everything that's on their mind. And also the adults, when they come in with all sorts of tales of tragedy and neglect, so they can come to us and say, hopefully over time, nobody's going to bare their soul right away, because if they did, they'd probably have weak defenses sometimes. Sometimes people come in and spill the beans and they'll never come back to therapy because they feel so ashamed about what they said. So sometimes I have to check them a little bit in the beginning if they overspill everything, because I know how they're going to walk out. They're going to walk out, and if you feel very, oh my God, I wonder what he thought of me. So it's hard to come into therapy. Very hard. It's. But if you don't, these things are going to grow in you and linger, and the self-attacks, and I'm no good, and I'm a piece of shit, and I'm not worth anything, like the Groucho Marx joke, I wouldn't want to belong to a club which wanted me. Well, that's how many people feel. If you get to know me, you're not going to like me. Yeah. So a lot of us have that in us, more than we know sometimes. We don't know why we're afraid of getting into a relationship and become very intimate and become known, because inside us, deep down, we don't feel that we would be liked if we were known. We'd be just the opposite. So, my group is going to be beginning the group number 2. The group number 1 has been closed. It's been in existence for 7 years, but you can find it under marksehl.com. And look under professional services, and then under that, training groups. That's training group number 2. So you can find out all about it if you're interested in a professional out there and want to increase your skills. Someday I think I might just have a regular group of mixed group with not just professionals, with parents, older, younger, or single people who want to know how to increase their choices to make themselves being more happy and love life and work. So if anybody's really interested in that, you can shoot me an email. That's at marksehl@gmail.com. marksehl@gmail.com. Okay, so thanks for listening, and it's been nice to be here today. It's Tuesdays with Mark, believe it or not. Tuesdays with Mark. And the YouTube channel, Therapy for the Heart, and talk number 69 on how to get better in life. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. Bye-bye.